There are some things love does not prepare you for. Not the arguments, not the distance, not even the silence. The thing nobody talks about is what happens to a relationship when one person gets sick and the other person gives everything they have. And still, it is not enough to bring them back. This is Breakup Diaries. The stories that between surviving and letting go. The ones that will stay with you long after the video ends. My name is Camille. I am 32 years old, and I am going to tell you a story about love, the real kind, the staying kind, and what it costs when the person you are staying for quietly stops meeting you halfway. Jordan called me on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at my desk, mid-email, coffee going cold the way it always did when work got heavy. He said 3 words before the rest. They found something, and I remember the specific feeling of the room not changing at all. Same desk, same cold coffee, same afternoon light through the blinds, everything exactly as it had been 30 seconds before. And yet the whole shape of our future had just quietly, permanently rearranged itself in the space between his words. Autoimmune condition. Chronic. Manageable, they kept using that word, manageable, like it was supposed to be a comfort. What they did not tell us, what no doctor's pamphlet and no well-meaning friend explains, is what chronic actually means for the person who loves the patient. It means forever. It means no finish line. It means you do not get to stop showing up. I did not know that yet. That Tuesday, I just drove to him. I held his hand in the parking lot outside the clinic for 20 minutes without either of us speaking. And I made him a silent promise, the kind you make before you understand the full cost of keeping it. What I want you to understand, before this story goes anywhere else, is that I am not telling you this because the love was not real. It was. It still is, in the complicated way that real things remain real even after they have been damaged. I am telling you this because nobody warned me about the version of grief that does not get a name. The grief that happens while someone is still alive, while they are still in the next room. While you are still making their dinner and tracking their appointments and holding the whole thing together, and somewhere, so slowly you almost do not notice, you begin to disappear inside the doing of it. I did not lose Jordan to his illness. I lost myself trying to save him from it. If you are just finding this story, welcome to Breakup Diaries. My name is Camille. Last chapter I told you about the phone call that split our lives into before and after. Today I need to tell you about the before, because you cannot understand what was lost unless you first understand what we had. Jordan was the least needy person I had ever loved. That is the first thing I want you to know about him. He was the man who fixed things before you finished asking, who showed up on a bad day without being called, who made you feel, simply by being nearby, that whatever you were carrying had gotten slightly lighter. We had been together 4 years. We had not merged into each other the way some couples do, the kind where you stop being 2 people and become one blurry thing. We were still distinctly ourselves. That felt like health. That felt like the right way to do it. He had a dry humor that I never got tired of. He made complicated things feel manageable. He was, and I choose this word deliberately, sturdy. The kind of man you could lean on without worrying you were leaning too hard. I have thought about that word every day for 14 months. Sturdy, what it meant then, what it costs to hold on to it now. Because here is the thing about loving a sturdy man. When the sturdiness goes, even temporarily, even for reasons completely outside his control, you discover that a significant part of what you loved was the weight he was carrying so you didn't have to. And when he puts it down, it does not disappear. It simply finds the nearest available person. It found me. I want to pause here and ask you something. Have you ever loved someone for their strength, and then watched that strength disappear, and discovered that the love didn't disappear with it, but everything else changed? Drop your answer below. Because what I am about to tell you next, what happened to us once the illness settled in for the long stay, is the part of this story I have never been able to say out loud before now. Subscribe and hit the bell because this story gets harder before it gets honest. And the honest part is what we are all here for. Bell. Nobody announces the moment you become a caregiver. There is no conversation, no formal handover, no day where someone sits you down and says, "From here forward, this is your role." It happens the way water moves, quietly, continuously, reshaping everything it touches without ever making a sound. I learned his medication schedule before I learned the name of his specialist. I started keeping a second calendar, his appointments, his refill dates, his flare patterns, alongside my own. I researched his condition at midnight while he slept, reading medical journals I was not qualified to understand, trying to build a map of something that refused to be mapped. I did all of this because I loved him. I want to be absolutely clear about that. Not out of obligation, not out of fear. Out of love, the deep, unglamorous kind that shows up at 2 a.m. in a kitchen sorting pills by day of the week under a single lamp, humming to itself because the silence is too heavy otherwise. One night I caught myself humming, something cheerful, automatic. I stopped, stood there in the kitchen light and tried to remember the last time I had been cheerful for a reason that had nothing to do with his condition improving. I could not find it, not in recent memory, not anywhere I could reach. My friends started referring to me as Jordan's caregiver. They meant it warmly. It landed like a diagnosis of its own. I did not tell Jordan any of this. I asked myself every time the thought surfaced, what kind of person complains to a sick man? I buried it. I kept showing up. I kept humming. I started keeping a different kind of count, not his medications. The last time he had asked how I was doing, not how the appointment went, not whether I had refilled the prescription, how I was, as a person, with a life happening independently of his illness. I kept the tally in my head. I reached 3 weeks before I stopped counting, not because he asked, because I decided the number had gotten too heavy to carry alongside everything else I was already holding. 9 months in, Jordan's specialist delivered news I had been waiting for so long it had started to feel like something I had invented. His markers had improved significantly. He could return to part-time work, resume social activities, manage most daily tasks independently. The doctor used the word stable, and I felt it move through me like warm water. I squeezed Jordan's hand in the office. He nodded. We walked out into the afternoon, and I was already, quietly, beginning to plan the return, the version of us that existed before the diagnosis. The kitchen with 2 people in it instead of 1 person and a patient. I could almost see it. 2 weeks passed, then 3. Jordan did not return to work, did not call the friends who had been asking about him for months, did not take back any of the small daily things the doctor had cleared him to carry again. The couch, the television, me managing everything, same as before. I asked once, carefully, choosing every syllable, had he thought about some of the things the doctor mentioned. He said he was not ready. I said, of course. I accepted it completely. 1 month after the green light, I sat in our kitchen alone at 9 in the evening and understood something I had not allowed myself to understand before. The illness had given Jordan permission to step back from his own life, and the permission had become a permanent address. He was living there now, comfortably, with me holding the door open. I was not angry. I want to be honest about that. I was something quieter. I was tired in a place that sleep could not reach. The question that started waking me at 3 a.m. was not the one I expected. It was not, should I leave? I was not there yet. It was something smaller and more shameful than that. It was, am I allowed to want more than this? Am I allowed, after everything, after all of it, to sit in my own life and say, I need something back? I carried that question for 6 more weeks. I told no one, because I already knew what they would say. He is sick, Camille. You knew what you were signing up for. Except did I? Does anyone? It was an ordinary Tuesday. That is the part I keep coming back to. Not a bad day, not a crisis, an ordinary Tuesday at my desk, mid-project functioning. And then I wasn't. I did not have a breakdown in any dramatic sense. My body simply stopped cooperating, like a phone that had been running on 2% for months, and finally, without ceremony, went dark. I found myself on the floor of the staff bathroom at my agency without fully remembering the walk there. Back against the partition, knees up, the fluorescent light humming above me like it had somewhere better to be. My coworker Denise found me. She did not call anyone. She did not make it a thing. She sat down on the floor beside me in her good work trousers on a Tuesday, and she did not say a word until I was ready. When I was ready, she asked me one question. When did you last do something just for you? I opened my mouth to answer. Nothing came out, not because I was emotional, because I genuinely could not find the answer. I searched my recent memory the way you search a bag for your keys, thoroughly, increasingly aware of the absence. Nothing. I told Denise about Jordan for the first time without the caregiver voice, without protecting him, without editing the weight of it into something more acceptable. All of it. The 2M kitchens, the 3-week tally, the green light he had not walked through, the question I had been carrying alone. She listened to every word. Then she said, You are allowed to have needs, even now, especially now. I had not known I needed permission. I had not known someone could give it. I drove home and I walked in and Jordan was on the couch where he always was, the television on, and he looked up and said, How was your day? The same way he said it every evening, the same flat, comfortable way, and I said, Fine, same as always. And I sat down across from him and I thought, he does not know. He does not know that I just spent 40 minutes on a bathroom floor. He does not know about the tally. He does not know what the green light cost me when he didn't walk through it. He has been in the same room as me for 14 months, and he does not know that I am disappearing. And for the first time, I let myself ask the question I had been too afraid to finish. Is that his fault? Or mine? Or is it something that happened to both of us so slowly that neither of us ever thought to look? He has been in the same room as me for 14 months and does not know I am disappearing. Your atomic bomb line. 3 days after the bathroom floor, I told Jordan the truth. All of it. Not in anger, I want to be clear about that. Not as an accusation. As an act of pure, exhausted honesty from someone who had finally run out of places to store things. I told him about the tally, the 2M kitchens, the question I had been waking up with at 3 a.m. for 6 weeks, the specific loneliness of being invisible inside the act of loving him. He was quiet for a long time, not defensive, not dismissive, just still, and then he said the 4 words that I have turned over in my hands every day since. I didn't know, Camille, I didn't know it had gotten that far. That sentence is the most painful thing anyone has ever said to me, not because it was cruel, because I believed him completely. Because the man who had been in the same room as me for 14 months, sleeping in the same bed, eating the food I made, living inside the care I gave, had genuinely not noticed how far under I had gone. That unawareness is not the same as not loving me. I know that. But it is its own kind of answer about what the illness had done to us. To him. To the space where his attention used to live. We are in therapy now, together and separately. Jordan has taken 3 things back this month, small things, but chosen. Deliberate. I am learning to say I need out loud without immediately apologizing for it. I do not know if we survive this. I know that I will. That is new. That is everything. Before you go, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with yourself when you answer it. At what point does loving someone through their hardest season become losing yourself inside it? And who is responsible for noticing when that line has been crossed? The one going under, or the one they are going under for? I have been sitting with that question for a long time. I still do not have a clean answer. Drop yours below. And if any part of this story felt like something you have been living without the words for, this episode was made for you. I am Camille. This is Breakup Diaries, and I will see you in the next one. Belle.